I want to call to order the fifth session of the 2025 budget work session reviews to receive and discuss departmental budget requests. I do want to note for the record, all council members are here in the Nat U Hill room. To my left, Councilor Iverson, Councilor Wiltz, Councilor Crossley. To my right, Councilor Hawk, Councilor Munson, and Councilor McKim. And I'm Trent Deckard. All right, we'll go to adoption of agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove an item from tonight's budget work session agenda? Are we good, friends? All right. I will take a motion to adopt this agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. We'll go to voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. Let's go on to number 3. And counselors, if you need to take a break, I'll read off this mostly for the public, but this is just a reminder of how this process works. I want to welcome everyone to this budget work session. This is night 5 of 6. We'll finish next week with our last one. I'd like to remind council members and the public that during these sessions, we review and we discuss departmental budgets presented. This is not the final approval of the 2025 Monroe County annual budget, nor is it the formal budget hearing. Those dates are as following. The public hearing, where we'll hear from the public what you think about this budget, if you have thoughts, is scheduled for Tuesday, October 8th at 5 p.m., and the budget's final adoption is scheduled for Monday, October 28th at 5 p.m. The public can make comments regarding a budget during those meetings. As we begin tonight, a department will be invited to join us to present their budget. They'll come up here and present it any way they see fit. As a reminder, departments have been allotted an amount of time for their budget review. This is based on times from the previous year, and Michelle keeps good track of that. We adjust it as we need it, but it is a good guidance. And as always, council members may extend their time as needed. However, we need to be mindful of our time, keep our discussion focused on budget requests presented. If a non-budget topic requires further dialogue more than just a couple passes, I may ask council staff members to reach out to the department head to schedule a discussion at the next available council meeting. During a department's review, they may be asked to explain any increases, decreases, or additions to the 2025 budget. Council members will then be given the opportunity to ask questions, and council members can make recommendations to increase or decrease account lines based on the discussion and or need of the department. And I'll note, as we figure out our budget, and of course we're trying to figure out how we fund the needs of the public, how we might account for how we properly fix payroll, including things like cost of living adjustments. That process means things can go up or down throughout from now until our budget hearings and adoption. Okay. And again, tonight we are not doing the final approval. You'll hear counselors do roll calls. That is to accept the budget from the department, but it is not a final budget. Anything can happen in this process, and often some of it does. All right. I've gone too long. Any questions or discussions on that? All right. I would like to give Michelle an opportunity, along with the auditor, if she wishes, to update us on any changes made at last week's or last night's reviews in combination with last week, and to update us regarding changes made specifically to the draft 4B.
Good evening, Council. We did several amendments last night, and I wanted to reflect those. So in the draft 4B, we did a reduction of $100,063 for general fund last night. So that has been reflected on the form 4B. And so you can see now that the revenue is down below a negative 1 million. So now we're 968. We also did some changes in the health. There was a reduction of $81,650. So that has been adjusted as well. Some of the other changes that we made that are not reflected on the draft form 4B is there was a 1.5 million increase to stormwater. There was a total of $112,106 of an increase made to the health fund, local public health, which is Fund 1161. There was that increase, and then there was another increase in the oh gosh, I can't remember that one. It was 1168, which is another health fund, health trust. There was an increase of that of 107,650, and that was due to making some of those reductions in the health fund 1159 and moving those into the other funds. So that's all the changes that you guys made last night. So.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. And I also, before the night gets away and the budget gets away and we get to our big end at the final day, I do want to say thank you very much to our staff, including Michelle, Courtney, also Molly Turner King from legal, and of course the auditor who sets through all this, helps us figure it out, and did so yesterday on her birthday too and smiled about it. Just thanks to her, all of this, it helps us to keep on track. And as you saw in real time yesterday, if you check that, those bottom line numbers, they move down because our staff's able to do that with these departments who help us do it. So thank you. Any questions from counselors? Counselor McKim.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that minus 968,000 in general fund does not reflect the redistribution of the levies yet. Okay, so that's going to bring that number down at least by $500,000. So
Right,
Really?
you'd be adding the 500 onto there, right?
adding to the revenue side, so the deficit would go down because it's.
I mean, are you going to leave the 500 over there in the health or not?
Well, I don't think we've resolved that yet. I think
But that would then subtract it from that,
Well, that's already taken into account. That what I'm saying is that if you copy that 22,512,000 up to line 11, you're going to get a different number. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to basically copy those proposed levy amounts up to line 11 so that we're looking at more accurate numbers. And yeah.
And Bree and I haven't had a chance to meet today, so that's why you just got the basic, this was reduced, but we didn't do anything with the proposed levy amount.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we all knew that, the scenario is actually not as bad as it's actually better than it was.
okay, so where is it you think it is then?
Well, I think it's almost about $500,000 difference in general. So subtract 968, subtract 500,000 from 968, 468. Right? Does that look about right? Am I doing the math about right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is leaving that 500,000 in health. So that's not.
I thought the first one we looked at, there was nothing in health.
Correct. When we started out, there was zero.
Counselor Iverson.
And just, we do this at the beginning of every single one of these meetings, and I think it's been said at the beginning of every one of these meetings, but it bears repeating that these numbers do not account for any increase of cost of living. So those numbers will need to be added to this at some point, should that be the will of council.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get sort of a report tonight on potential, just what the numbers would look like.
Right.
Yeah, Michelle has been dutifully talking to me about getting cost of living options to you, and counselors, you'll be able to see that, think about it, contemplate it as these numbers continue to go and figure out what we're going to do. Yes, Counselor Hawk.
Right. Do we have any further information about where we stand with the medical contract for the jail? Because the last I talked with them, it looked like that's going to be, even at 1.2, was still going to be way short. And they were working on getting a new number.
That is very true.
Ms. Turner King, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I don't think they've identified what vendor they're going with yet. They're looking at vendor options still.
Yeah.
So, I think that's something because there's no option about not doing it. We have to do it.
Yeah. I think as they learn more, and they've certainly been good about telling us when they need things, I think as they learn more, can get more specifics on it, maybe get that back to us. Ms. Turner King, who is the county legal attorney for the sheriff?
It's Mr. Justin Roddy, but we kind of all handle the sheriff together.
Okay. Well, and he could, if you can alert him to alert us and on that, because he'll see that contract as quick as we do, right? Theoretic, hopefully. Okay. Other comments, questions? We good? I want to keep us moving on our agenda, but thanks, counselors, for kind of watching this, looking through this. As I often say to the public, it's a giant mud ball. We work it out, and somehow it gets done, and we submit it to the state, and it works out hopefully well, and then we start immediately making changes because needs come up. So we'll keep at it here. All right, now, on to our evening. I'd like to invite our first department for the evening, the Waste Reduction District, to join us, and that'll take us to item 5.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8210 Special Solid Waste Management Operating with category request of personnel, $1,686,549, supplies, $217,950, services, $1,288,750, capital, $137,000, for a total request of $3,330,249.
Second.
Welcome Tom McGlasson, our director, to talk with us.
Good evening. Again, thank you for your time and consideration on our budget. In the interest of time, I would note that on pages 3 through 6, I believe, of your packet, you do have a budget comparison sheet that does, on the right side, have a notes column that does have some brief summaries of the changes from last year or from the current year into 2025. And I certainly would be happy to expand on any of that and answer any questions, but in the interest of time, I'll just highlight a few of the items that I think are the most significant or relevant for the council's consideration. So, the first one I would highlight is in the personnel services category, and that is our proposed wages for 2025. I would note that we have proposed, and our board has approved, a 7% wage increase for our employees, which is a significant increase, and that I would say that's based on historically we've used the CPIW Midwest Clerical and Wage Earners Index to base our increases on. However, for the time period in reference, that is at about 3.5%. Just looking at some of the economic situations that we're in, the period of inflation that we're in, really just was concerned, that was a sufficient, increase for our employees, to help them keep up with the cost of living that they're currently experiencing right now. We did, look at some information out of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis that showed things like, for the groceries are at about a 23% rate of inflation right now. Housing's in the 20% range. Gasoline's in the 40% range. Obviously, 20% increase is not something that we can do. It's unreasonable. There's no way we could afford that. But we wanted to try to do something to do a little bit bigger bump to try to help with some of those cost of living increases that we're all struggling with right now. So that's 7% was what we calculated that we thought that the district could afford to do, that our budget could manage. So that's what's been proposed there. Another item that I wanted to bring to the council's attention, apologize if I can find it. We did have a new budget line under the professional services category. That would be budget line 30938, what we've titled a court-ordered remediation. We've gotten ourselves into a situation scenario working with the county attorney's office and the courts where we have some properties that have substantial compliance issues with regard to dumping, waste accumulation, presenting some, health hazards, for the community, and the property owners are not complying with our notices of violations and requests and demands to clean up. These cases are ultimately going to court. and the courts are giving us an order to go in and remediate the property and put a lien against that property. So it is money that we will eventually recoup when the property transfers ownership. But in the meantime, we have to absorb the cost of that cleanup. So we did have to put a new budget line in there. For 2025, we've budgeted $5,000 for that. That's based on the two orders that we've gotten to this point. It's, these aren't things that happen quickly or fast. It's not, we're not going to get 10 of these orders in a given year. We're going to get a few of them, and each one's going to be a few $1,000s. So, but we thought we needed to budget for that separately to be able to account for it, because that is money that somewhere down the road we should recoup when that property transfers ownership. And then the last things that I wanted to highlight for you are in the capital category. We do have a significant vehicle purchase appropriation of $120,000, and that is we're looking to replace the 2 box trucks we use for our Green Business Network recycling collection routes. The 2 trucks that we're currently using are both over 15 plus years old, and the maintenance and upkeep costs on them is getting pretty unreasonable for us, and we thought it was time to replace those. We are looking to replace them with brand new vehicles. That the $120,000 is based on a quote we received from a local dealership to get 2 new box trucks of similar size. But at the same time, those will come with warranties and be new vehicles and should have minimal, if any, maintenance costs for the foreseeable future. And then the last one is, again, in capital, computer equipment purchase. We have a handful of computers that our staff is using that, in computer terms, they're old. They're, 3 to 5 years old, but in the world of computers, that's pretty old. And the PC Max, who we use for IT services, has advised that those computers are not going to support a newer version of Windows than what they're currently running. And with Microsoft saying next October they're going to stop supporting Windows 10, we have to do something with the operating system for those workstations. So that's what's proposed for that. So that highlights the things that I wanted to highlight for the operating fund, and again, be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And let's see what questions folks have. Counselor Hawk.
Yes, can you remind us what salary increase your employees received last year? Or I should say for 2024.
For 2024, I believe it was 4.5% or 5%.
4.5 or 5, but you don't remember which.
Specifically, it was either 4.5% or it was 5%. I apologize, I don't recall off the top of my head.
Other questions? Counselor Iverson.
Yeah, my question is down in your services category. It is on the consultant's fee, and I was wondering if you could talk about your composting program. That's line 30180.
Yeah, certainly. That's if you'll recall, for 2024, our board requested a $50,000 appropriation in that category, earmarked specifically to trying to do something related to organic and food waste collection, keeping that out of the waste stream, promoting composting. What came out of that was entering into an agreement with a local organization called One Sustainable Joe. And they have set up at, I think, 5 multifamily dwelling units, predominantly apartment complexes, an on-site composting program where residents can take their food waste and do composting on-site. And his numbers have looked really good, and he'd been really positive feedback from those complexes, one of which is a management company that owns multiple complexes and has inquired about expanding that program to their other units. So that's what that is, therefore, is to extend and expand the contract with One Sustainable Joe to broaden that program.
That's excellent. As my question was, it's 1,000% increase, and I'm really excited to see the expansion.
Other comments or questions? Yes, Councilor Crossley.
Thank you. I just want to go back to the new account law that you have for the court order remediation. It's sad to hear that, you're having to take people to court for that. But just out of curiosity, to date, how many properties have you had that have been non-compliant that have gotten to this point of having to take them to court?
Well, are you asking for the number where we have the order to go in and at our cost clean it up, or where we've gone to court and not necessarily gotten an order to clean up, but fines have been issued against the property owner? There's two different categories there.
You can talk about both.
Off the top of my head, that's hard to, over the years, that's hard to say. I know that we have 2 compliance cases where we have received the court order to go in and clean up the property at our cost and put the lien on it. Over the past 5 to 6 years, there's probably been an additional 10 properties that we have gone before a judge on seeking some sort of relief or assistance in getting the property remediated.
Councilor Iverson.
My next question is on the recycling expense. That's line 30960.
Okay.
We see a roughly 9% growth in what you're requesting. Does that relate to an increased demand by Monroe County residents for recycling, or is that kind of an extrapolated growth rate?
That's volume based. So we are seeing an increase in the volume of recycling being collected at our facilities because our agreement does not have an escalator clause for the recycling fees. So that increase is based on volume.
Okay, wonderful.
Councilor Wills.
Going back to follow up on Councilor Crossley's question about the properties, this might be really naive. Are these residential properties that we're talking about exclusively?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Munson.
So, as an old hand at the former solid waste district, now waste reduction, I just want to comment on your bottom line for the 8 to 10 fund and say that with the increases in salaries, purchase of 2 brand new trucks, additional equipment, I think you've held the increase amount very low to $266,000, and I know that this was something that you're balancing against the increases in recycling and waste reduction. So it sounds like things are going great at the district. Thank you.
We like to think so, yes. So.
Right. Councilor McKim.
I guess I will just note that the 4B statements are in the packet after the budget, so we appreciate having those included along with the budgets.
Yes, are we looking at, when we're looking at the increases for this budget, are we looking at what the city plans for an increase? And of course, we don't know if we can do any increase at all. It seems to me, if I'm recalling right, we used to try to sort of average that out. It's the reason why I asked how much they received this year, because we did allow for a fairly large increase for Monroe County government employees. So I'm just wondering, you're the one that serves on this?
Yes.
Okay, what numbers did you look at to arrive at the 7%?
Well, I think Mr. McGlasson actually just cited a lot of we weren't so much comparing against other cost of living increases that other units were giving. He was looking at really what the other what the actual costs of living that their employees were subject to. Now, I will say that the topic of how this compared with county and city did come up in discussions. And I think we all acknowledge that neither the county nor the city this year would be able to match this or even come close to it.
Right, so I mean, that is
so-
something I certainly would have to consider, and I've been looking at this budget since the inception, well, before we had us, when it was really the county's budget. So I find it very difficult. While I do agree, I've been at the grocery store. Now I can't afford to go back for a while, and can't afford the gas to get in the car to go there. And I understand inflation, they can say all they want at the national level. We have inflation because we feel it. We're the ones who pay the grocery bill. And so I understand that for your employees, but I also understand that for all government employees as well. And so I would have some difficulty supporting 7% for one group and maybe nothing at all for county. Or at the best, I thought we were maybe looking if we could squeeze maybe a 3% in there. I'm just,
One thing to know, if I heard the numbers right, you're saying 7 this year, and it was 4.5 last year,
I believe so, yeah.
that's why I asked the question.
and we were last year at 7.5, right?
8.5.
8.5. Pardon me, 8.5. While you were at 4.5.
Plus some additional
Plus-
for the lower pay.
Plus some additional. And I will say that, so we have a little bit of mix there that it has occurred. I often say to people, and I say this as a kid of a county employee for a number of years. I remember when colas were actually like a soda you drank, because colas were not discussed a lot in rooms like this. But it sounds to me like that balance there from your last year to this year, depending on where we're at, somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, I think when you look at, over a span of years, things tend to equal out, and I certainly understand Ms. Hawk's hesitation and concern, and the council as a whole's position in trying to balance different in essence different agencies. We are a separate entity from the county, and I understand your predicament in trying to balance what you're doing for employees across a variety of agencies.
Yeah, never-ending process. And I will say, for any county employee watching, the goal of the council, I think, unless I'm just completely off, is to do a COLA and to take care of our people. I don't, since I came on in 2019, I don't ever remember a day where we weren't thinking about taking care of our people. Now, we may not have done it like 8.5. I don't know that we ever did anything like 8.5, or the bonus schedule we did that one year. Remember that? We were in here in December trying to get that figured out. But the goal is always to do that. And that's why you see counselors pushing those numbers down and asking department heads, just like last year, who did it, how do you get that lower so I can get a COLA that's not an RC COLA for our folks? So we'll keep at it.
But could I ask you, I thought the COLA was, when we looked at the numbers, it was like 3.5. Where'd I get that?
Which COLA do you mean?
The number that we would normally use, I believe, was 3.2.
3.2.
Right? Is that right, Kim?
3.2. Commissioners asked for 5.2.
Well,
Yeah.
they don't look at the numbers. They just say, well, isn't that be nice? We just say, hey, give everybody a 20% raise. We can do that. Well, so that's the reason I was thinking, well, if we did 3.2, and last year we did the 8.5, then if they, I was just trying to make it even out. If they were at 4.5 before and they asked for 7, then they're at 11.5, and we would be at 11.2, I'd say, right? Damn, I'm just
No,
going.
11.7.
Is that
11.7 if we did 3.2.
Yeah. So they're still behind, right? Is that?
what? I mean, it's close.
It's very close.
Pretty close.
Very close.
But we'll take 7.5 then.
Yeah. There you go.
No, I just, if I could, just to add, and I, like again, I said, I understand the situation and the predicament that you all find yourself in, but We are a separate entity, and we, you know, as I mentioned, it was looking at, you know, what's the reality of, you know, what everybody's facing as far as putting food on the table, you know, gas in the car so they can get to work, and it was, you know, what can we do that our budget can absorb and be sustainable with, and that was, you know, looking at all the wage index as well as the inflationary numbers we got from the Federal Reserve. That was the number we arrived at that you know, we could do and sustain.
Honestly, and a few of us monitor Big Red down the way. If Big Red could keep up with all the public entities, we'd probably have a whole lot better, people better off, but they're a little behind. Other comments or questions?
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. And as you know, as much as I'd like to say, I personally take my refuge there, I don't. It's like I play lazy and I have somebody else do it. But the orange bags, that's the reason why, because that's the kind of question we get from the public. Sure. So what's the price of those? Have the prices of the orange bags gone up? I mean, is that still a thing? I guess it is.
Yes,
It is a thing.
They are.
We hear about it.
We do that. That is still currently a very popular, based on the numbers, a very popular program. The bags are sold in two sizes. We have 33-gallon bags that are sold in a roll of 10 for $15, and 13-gallon bags that are sold in a roll of 20 for $12.50. And those prices have increased once since I've been director, but it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. So you don't anticipate an increase this year?
We do not have a
year.
planned fee increase on any of our programs or services for 2025.
One thing I want to mention while you're here is your bulky items program is tremendous. And I have to believe the amount of waste that's not sitting on ditches or getting in the middle of when fire trucks trying to get through has to be absolutely tremendous. The biggest disappointment in this county is if you go and it's full and you can't get in. I mean, it's a tremendous program, and your folks handle that very well with, you know, you can't do that, you can't do that, might think about this, and it's awesome.
Well, thank you. And if I might just to add on to that, if people aren't aware, one change to that program we did make this year, instead of those bulky item boxes moving from facility to facility every week, we now do that on a monthly rotation. Which, and yes, that for, you know, the site that's closest to you, you may have to wait a little longer for those to come around. But that also eliminated, we had 4 or 5 months in the year where you had a 5th Monday in a month, and we didn't our rotation didn't allow us to have it available anywhere that week. So that's eliminated those weeks where the program is not available. And thus far, you know, we've had very positive response to that scheduling change.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's great, because inevitably whenever I would get, you know, I'd have a free Saturday to gather up my stuff, it would be on that 5th week of the month.
It would be.
Yeah.
You know,
Demand's good. Demand is good. All right, counselors, any other questions? Have we asked enough? All right. Sounds like there isn't any more questions. Let's, we do roll call on these binding reviews as well, correct? All right. May I have a roll call vote on this?
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, we'll go to the next one.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8283, Solid Waste District Management, or Solid Waste District Debt Service. Category request of personnel 0, supplies 0, services $304,370, capital 0, for a total request of $304,370.
Second.
All right.
Yeah, again, this is the debt service related to the bond that was taken out to close the landfill. Would note the agency fee, line 43 43835 did increase, actually increased last year. You may recall we had to seek an additional appropriation for that. And unfortunately, we will also be coming before you for additional appropriation for that fee again this year, because the notice of the increase was received after the budget was all submitted. It was for advertising purposes, was too late to make changes. But so that did increase by $350 to $750, and we do have that budgeted for 2025.
Go to questions from council. Councilor McKim.
And could you tell us when the payoff is for that, for this bond?
The final payment is due in February of 27.
Wow, it's getting there.
We're getting there.
It's getting there. It used to seem so far away.
I know it did.
Other comments or questions? Not seeing any. We will go to a roll call vote.
That's right.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, we'll move on to the next budget.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 1215, Solid Waste District, non-reverting capital with a zero budget.
Second.
Yeah, this is something that we do every year. The district does have a cumulative capital fund, but we do not have any planned expenses out of it this year. DLGF advises every year to go ahead and pass that zero-sum budget. So the budget is on the books. It eliminates some necessary steps to take should something happen and we needed to appropriate funds from that, the cumulative capital fund.
Any questions from counselors? All right. We see the zero and everybody just zones out, right? All right. If there are no questions, let's go to a roll call vote on accepting this.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right. I believe that completes the binding review for the Solid Waste District. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on now to item B on our agenda, which is the Monroe Fire Protection District.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8603, Special Fire General with a category request of personnel, $15,242,260, supplies, $530,250, services, $1,185,300, capital zero, with a total request of $16,957,810.
Second, but that is a different number that is in the packet.
Yeah, I saw something kind of hinky there myself.
Right. I forwarded to you the updated budget. So this is the updated because they had a meeting last night. And so you were emailed their updated budget
I see
earlier
it.
today.
Yeah. We
Gotcha.
thought,
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not entirely caught up on all my emails
This is the
today.
updated one. Have you need it?
Okay, thank you.
Hold on.
I see it now.
All right, Chief.
Anybody require a hard copy?
no, hold on.
Just
They just
need
have to find it.
Just need to open them. Hold on.
Counselor Iverson, did you have a comment?
And just, excuse me, just so that members of the public understand, I think the numbers on the screen are the updated, even if they don't have the updated numbers in the packet.
Correct.
All right, so transparency
okay,
is
so-
preserved.
Should we tell them about that?
As it should be.
And this, I got it.
Chief Dillard, now that we've all figured out where we're at, I'll turn it over to you to take us through this.
Well, I'm gonna need some time to figure out where I am.
Okay.
You're in good
Hold
company.
on.
All
We're
right,
getting there.
good evening, hello. It's good to see everyone. Really just quick, special considerations for this time around. I know last year I talked about the Washington Township Fire Station. I think we are almost to an actual point of that becoming reality. The bids close out on September 25th, and we're looking to award that on October 9th. So this budget in particular does include the fact that we're going to be staffing that, we're going to be supplying that, we're going to be running trucks out of that, et cetera. With that said, our personnel category, as you see, there's a 13.09% increase in that category. First and foremost, there are 4 additional firefighters to be added. In years past, we've discussed our 2017 plan when we started having all these mergers and where our maximum staffing would be. And we've got 7 firefighters remaining to hire to get to that 110 full-time employees. We're looking to hire 4 of those 7 in 2025 and the remaining 3 in 2026. So that includes the addition of 4 additional firefighters. There is a 4% cost of living adjustment for chief officers, a 6% for admin, and updated last night, a 10% increase for the firefighter wages. Now that includes the firefighter base salary. That comes from a salary study that looked at several departments that we have lost firefighters to. And it also is kind of in conjunction with the Bloomington Fire Department's review and what they're looking at doing for 2025 and 2026. Really made those adjustments about within the last 3 weeks, and last night was the first board meeting that we were able to have outside of our work session to get that included there. So that was the change really in the difference between the copy that you would have had and what you were emailed today. To do that, we did look at lowering some lines. In particular, our initial request was to add 6 of those 7 firefighters this year. But there were conversations about that early on, leaving that 1 firefighter left out to add in 2026 and the complications of training a single individual. So we went ahead and reduced that to 4. And we also were able to have a meeting with our insurance agent at the end of last week and look at what our renewal for January 1 might look like. In years past, you've heard me discuss that we can't really get an optimal quote until 60 days out, which is after this budget process. So that's always been one that's complicated, but we feel like a 19.4% increase in our insurance is probably pretty likely. Now, we had increased that line 15% between 2023 and 2024. We are on a biannual insurance renewal. So that's that. Holiday pay, there's an increase of $50 per 24-hour shift for each of those 10 holidays. One big change as well, in addition to the 4 firefighters that are being added to the 1977 fund, is an increase from the state in the employer required contributions, which jumped from about 19% to 21.5% this year. So there's an increase in that line that's directly derived from that. You'll notice a reduction in the volunteer contract. That is something that's been occurring over the last few years, a little bit at a time, as we've shifted some of those things into fire district lines. Look, we're already paying for the general insurance, the life insurance, the liability insurance, the work comp insurance, the equipment, and we've slowly been shifting dollars off of that. So when you see that, it's not because we're not going to have volunteer firefighters or EMTs, it's because we're paying for those elsewhere. In the supplies category, you're looking at a 5.79% increase overall. Some of that comes from money moving from that volunteer contract to that promotional line, which is going to be raised $5,000 to purchase things that the Volunteer Association previously purchased through that contract. Fuel, there's an increase of 6%. Really, we're going to have more trucks on the road, more ambulances on the road, and we don't really control those fuel prices. So the consumption we do, and we've worked pretty diligently to minimize that. EMS supplies, a $10,000 increase there. That's a direct result of the ambulance consumables that we're going through. Things that don't get used, don't get billed for and replaced, they expire. So that will take care of that. In the services category, general insurance, 10% increase there based on estimates that were provided by our insurance providers. And then that also includes as the new ambulances come in and the new services are offered, we have additional liability that we have to cover there as well. Trainings and seminars, you see a 12% increase there. That's really due to the larger volume of folks that we have seeking external training and bringing that back to the department. So the first few years of the fire district, we spent a lot of time learning each other, right? We had 5 fire departments that have merged in the last 3 years. We spent a lot of time doing in-house training. Now we're at a point where everyone is working very well together, and we're sending people out to bring new ideas back to the fire district. Equipment, tests, and certifications. We've got several things, a lot of things that require annual testing. That includes our fire pumps, hoses, ladders, our breathing apparatus, the extrication equipment we use to work vehicle accidents, and several other safety-related things. A lot of that stuff has been in operating or in other areas, and we're trying to condense that into a single line for transparency. Contractual services, there's an increase there. A lot of those items came out of the computer tech support line. Again, as Solid Waste District mentioned earlier, we too have 9 fire stations, 60-some apparatus with computers, some of which also have that Windows 10 issue and must be addressed next year. So by moving things out of that line for computer tech support, we're able to leave that line as it was this year and honestly complete a lot more computer upgrades. That's my notes for the general fund.
Okay. We'll go to questions from counselors. Thanks, Chief. Questions on this side.
Start down there.
Counselor Iverson.
All right, so I want to open, my first question is always about the people who serve. You talked about new lines for folks, but my concern is always the vacancies that you have. Are there vacancies now? How are you doing?
Fortunately, we just finished a recruit academy. Last Friday, we graduated 11 new firefighters that hit the streets on Monday. We have 1 vacancy currently. That came from a resignation after academy started.
Well, congratulations. That's really great. I mean, I know you touched on the difficulty with folks going to other jurisdictions. So it's really good to hear that you only have 1 vacancy and it was foreseen.
Yeah. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Counselor McKim.
Thank you. Of course, I'm always going to ask about taxes. So I was just looking at the levy, and it looks like the levy for the general fund went up by about 8.8%. Is that right? And I remember, was it 2 years, 3 years ago, you kind of presented your 3-year plan. How close are you to where you had expected to be levy-wise?
Okay, so the property tax levy for the general fund, as presented last year, was estimated to be at 0.2540. Our advertisement has that at 0.2545, and we expect it to come back in about 0.2469. So slightly lower than what we had projected, but not really enough to brag about anything, yeah.
And that 0.2469 was the rate for last year also, right? That's the exact same rate for last year. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so you're expecting that the rate will come out about even, but you'll be bringing in
Correct.
another, okay. And you have 1 more year that you're planning to increase? Is
2026 would have the addition of 3 firefighters, and that would bring us to the 110 full-time career staff.
That's great.
Thank you.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes, of course, these numbers are different from the numbers that you and I both know. We get phone calls and email and so forth, people who are watching very carefully your budget. one of the things when I hear your target number for firefighters, but you add more townships to cover, then would that not include an increase into that target number?
Yeah, so the 110 would include every township that's currently in the district, the current configuration. Bean Blossom has obviously looked at joining the fire district. If they were to do so, that would require 6 additional firefighters, which, I mean, that would have to happen in 1 year, right? Our minimum staffing at a fire station is 2 firefighters. That is what we were budgeting for that township. So yes, that would include 6 additional firefighters in 2026, if it were to happen.
Right. I mean, we don't know that it's going to happen, but of course, that's a lot that's being discussed
Correct.
in my district. And so the other thing that I heard discussed in one of your meetings, if I heard it correctly, it's not always easy. I continue to beg you to come here for your meetings because it's really difficult to follow what you folks are doing in your meetings. It's just, and there's just too many people relying on what you're saying and they can't hear. And I just don't think that's fair to the public. It just isn't. And that's nothing new. You've heard me say that every year. Falls on deaf ears, but I'm going to continue to say it. But one of the things was that, 3 years ago or 4 years, whenever it was, you were able to get grant dollars for, was it 13 firefighters? But this is the year that grant ran out, and you were each year still leaving that tax rate in place as though you had it, if I'm understanding it correctly, so that you could build up the cash so that you could then pick up where the grant stopped and you could make payroll. Am I understanding that correctly? Yes.
Is this on? Yes, it is. Yes, the 3-year grant ran out in March of this year. We were able to continue to recoup reimbursements from that SAFER grant, is what we called it, through the end of July. So this year we have the grant reimbursements coming in, but the 3 years prior has allowed us to build up our operating balance so that we could accommodate all of those firefighters and not have any layoffs at the end of the grant period, which I think is, what they would like for us to do for the firefighter grants, is to figure out a way to maintain all of those positions at the end of the grant. And we've been able to do that, plus add a couple firefighters each year.
Right, and I think it's important for that bit of information to go out to the public. And thanks for sharing that with me. And that's been a while for me to remember, and I got it pretty close tonight.
You did.
Okay, so but what I wondered at the time was that if you'd saved up this so that you would be prepared to pick it up once it's gone. But once the part that you've saved, then what? I mean, now what?
So the way we've gone about becoming more sustainable is when we first merged together, we didn't really have any operating balance. We didn't have the cash balance. We had to get loans the first year to even make it to the next settlement,
right,
which is very expensive, very hard to manage financially, and just a little bit at a time without exceeding our tax rate any more than we have. We've just been able to tighten our belts a little bit and manage our finances so that we can build that operating balance. And now we're at about 25% operating balance, which I feel like is a good place for us to fall going into 2025, when we'll start to see everything normalize a little bit more. So it's basically, good financial planning, good budgeting, and we've been able to accommodate all those firefighter salaries.
So, can I ask one more question? Okay, I'm sorry. So the budget that you have presented for today, it's different from what they looked at, and you come protect me when he comes and gets me, because he's not going to be happy. on the other hand, we know the stress that firefighters are in, and law enforcement and all of the public safety workers, for this ambulance or firefighters or law enforcement. And so it's difficult not to support that kind of raise. I also know what's happened before. When your folks got a nice big raise, well then, of course, that meant everybody else had to get a nice big raise. Bloomington had to, and then Ellisville had to, and it's just that circle of, and you know, just because wherever you live, that doesn't mean that's where you have to work. If you're a firefighter, you can just keep switching and go around. So is there any thought to trying to work together, or I guess that'd be collusion, wouldn't it? But somehow or the other, somehow or the other, it's just going to cause. I want everyone to do well, but at some point in time, the people paying the price for everyone to do well, they're not doing so well. So I'm just sharing that. I just don't know. Was there some particular reason why you jumped the raise up to 10,000?
Yep, so it actually is a result of information sharing. The salary study that is most recent was completed by the Bloomington Firefighters Union, and they shared that with us as soon as that information was public. So we got that about 3-4 weeks ago, and we made adjustments. We knew that an adjustment was coming. I mean, the figures that we have were built in 2017 numbers, right? A lot of things have changed in salaries since 2017. Sure. When we made our decisions in 2019 for the 2021 budget, we established a salary that at the time we felt like was suitable. We've adjusted that each year with the MLGQ, and it's just not kept up. So no, this interesting change in the last 3 weeks is really the result of exactly what you just said, us trying to keep things a little bit more comparable and equal versus the leapfrogging, if you will.
And I understand that. So your response is, if I understand you correctly, you looked at what Bloomington's doing and you knew if you didn't want your people to leapfrog over to Bloomington, you had to pay them.
That's correct. And it's not just based on what Bloomington's doing. White River Township, Bargersville, Speedway, those are departments that were looked at because that's where we've lost people to. They just did a lot of the work and shared the information.
Councilor Munson.
Yes, 2 points, please. First, I'd like to second Councilor Hawk's strong recommendation that you have your meetings here where they can be broadcast on Teams to the citizens of this county, and people can hear and participate. And I think this is very important when Richland Bean Blossom is considering information. Poor communication is just not what you need at this particular time. And I'm not saying all meetings have to be here, but I certainly think the upcoming deliberations need to be widely understood by the public. And second, I would like to hear anything you can relay to us about an update with the new ambulances and how that's going.
So we have one ambulance that's in service and on the streets.
Singular, sorry.
Well, no, I will tell you, we have the second one, but if you remember, we wanted to keep one in reserve. Benefit to that, the last 48 hours. We had an airbag issue on one of the brand new ambulances. It's warranted, but we had to remove it from service. Without having that reserve unit, we would have been out of service. Since July 16th, we have taken 86 911 calls. So statistically, the call volume is what we thought it was going to be. At that, we should respond to over 600 calls per year. However, the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks really, the students were not in town. And I was getting a little bit nervous because we had run 7 or 8 calls. That changed drastically when students returned to town and IU Health Lifeline has ran their wheels off. So.
Yeah. Counselor Crossley.
Thank you. I want to look at the supplies category, and forgive me if you went over this. I was kind of skimming through the other parts of your budget here. For legal counsel and expenses, line 8352, it looks like you are going down about almost 19% in your costs. Can you explain your ration for that?
Yep. So in 2024, we budgeted funds there to look at the cost of the audits, how much things were costing us from a legal and accounting standpoint. Most of those costs incurred ended up being at accounting. We lowered that back down from a legal standpoint. We are under a different audit category now because of the size of the budget and the types of federal grants that we had received. We were kind of sidewinded, if you will, last year when we were told that the sum was going to be around $60,000 for those audits, and that had not been budgeted for. So we built money into the budget and had a lot more communication with the State Board of Accounts. And this year we were able to reduce that for 2025.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Counselor Iverson.
This is more of a statement, but with Fall Festival and Bloomington Pride this weekend, I'm just so happy that those ambulances are here and they're up to speed. I know when we had talked about getting those, that was the concern, was when we've got all of these events happening. IU Athletics is on too, so just really happy those are up and going.
Yeah, we're happy. The ambulance with the airbag issue is back in service, so we have 2 available should we need them this weekend. But you know, your comment there really helped me add back to our comment on our firefighters. Please take into consideration with this request also that that is an additional burden that we have placed on them, that we did not hire them directly for, they were not initially trained for, and they have went through the training to transport on these ambulances. They are staffing these ambulances now, the one in Kennedy Drive, 24/7, and they have done so very willingly and happily to fix the problem that we've been having. So that, you know, that's more that what goes into this.
Well, and I think folks forget that because you're so federated across the community, that your folks are on the scene a lot of times first.
Yeah, and sometimes for a substantial amount of time.
That's right.
Yeah, there was an EMS call to Polk Township today. It took about 25 minutes for us to get there. We had to come from the station on South Kennedy because of the accident that occurred down at 3737 that had multiple resources tied up. Yep. But I mean, I drove that call today and it was insane. It was like, wow, this is double the amount of time that these houses are typically responding. But this is very common from an ambulance standpoint, right? Like when they're coming from downtown all the time, that drive is very realistic.
Yeah.
Well,
and the last thing I'll say, Mr. President, is I really encourage folks to follow the Fire Protection District and the Firefighters Local on Facebook. There's some really cool videos of those ambulances.
So tell us where to find it.
On Facebook is where I see most of it, but that's because I'm old. The kids might see it on other services.
Facebook Fire District, right?
Hey, Monroe County. Oh, you guys plug your own stuff.
We have something every day. They're busy every day.
If there's not other questions, I wanted to offer a comment. I was happy to hear you talk about the Washington Township station coming online. And one of my biggest regrets, I think Councilor McKim and I, was when we were on PS Lit, that 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, we could have accelerated all of that with a $402,000 appropriation for money that was really perfect for that. I'm disappointed in all the collaboration that we do that we could not get that done for you. One of the things I always like about this department, and I follow very closely what people say and also all that social media activity, which is important, I think, because that's how people get to know you all. And then they know who they're calling and they trust. One of the things that I like is that in those spots in the county where people are and are not easy to get to, they can get exceedingly professional service from your folks, caring service, which when you're in the midst of it matters, and they can get that wherever they're at in this county. I think there was a time where we sort of said, well, and I still hear it to this day, and it drives me up the wall. Well, that's out in the county. You have to expect when your life is heading in the wrong way, no, you don't have to expect anything but the best. And it really makes me happy that you all have professionalized that. The folks in Washington Township talk about that all the time. And I just think that that's a big deal, and more good days ahead. And I also been really happy with how you have, I don't know anyone that could really navigate that many different townships and bringing them into a fire anything. I mean, just talk to Brown County. It's like a case study on disagreements. So I just think that's huge, and it represents the community and the best interests in the county very well. And I wish that we were all cooperative across those jurisdictions, quite like the district sets that example, but that's just not the case. Yeah.
I just want to mention that there's a couple Scribner's there on the spreadsheet that you're looking at. So if anyone does a deep dive, if the public's really looking at it, one line that's been omitted, it was budgeted at 0 because we use it to track our ambulance staffing, would be line 8231. It was on the budget that our board approved last night, and it is in the gateway forms, but it should be line 8231, ambulance staffing, budgeted at 0 because it's a tracking line. The other thing is the percentage for personnel category should have been 13.59. I thought I had all the formulas fixed, and I missed that one. So it is not 43% increase, it's 13.59.
Okay.
We were talking about that down
Seriously,
here, and we were like, are we looking at the right budget?
I have the calculation right here. I did it too.
Yeah,
so it didn't
yeah.
make any sense.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Other questions? Counselor Hawk.
Yes. Speaking of seeing you on Facebook, were you there with all the pigs? Did you see?
I was there briefly. I actually was in traffic, wondering why there was so much traffic when the call went off. So I was able to evade that traffic, get up and see the situation pretty quickly. And yeah, it was wasn't a circus, it was a farm.
I mean, you say the firefighters were really, they willingly jumped in and worked the
They were
ambulance, and
fantastic.
now they're working, trying to capture the pigs. So,
A lot of ground ladders. They corralled 179 pigs, I think they
It's
said,
just amazing.
in the middle of the interstate.
Just another day, right?
Yeah.
and also I saw that there was a class of I think it's new that they're getting training at, is it at Ivy Tech that graduated? Was that today? And did you work with those folks on that, or?
Yeah, correct. So we work with Ivy Tech on their fire science program. It's public safety now. But this last year was the first year that they actually offered state certifications for their firefighters. And they were able to do that by using the training facility up on North Old State Road 37 and having some of our instructors and evaluators assist in that certification process. Hoosier Hills Career Center, the high school, also does something very similar. They are MCCSC employees at the time, but Hoosier Hills employs 2 fire district firefighters that complete that training, and they also use the facilities to get those folks trained. So, you know, firefighting is currently a critical shortage in the state, and there's Department of Workforce Development funds that will help institutions like Ivy Tech certify firefighters. So,
Okay. All right. We probably need to keep moving here. So if there's no further questions, we'll go to a roll call on the budget.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, let's move on to the next budget.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8691, Special Fire Cumulative Fire, with a total request of $1,267,117.
Second.
All right, Chief.
Yeah, so really two significant changes in the cumulative fund. One, you see the increase in small vehicles. In the past, we have historically just purchased the base vehicle out of that line, and then we have used other lines throughout the general fund or the cumulative fund to equip it, to buy the lights, the sirens, the radios, whatnot. This year, instead of trying to piece all of that together, we wanted to take the opportunity to build those lines to actually purchase two small vehicles. Those could be squads, brush trucks, command vehicles, and that'll take care of replacing two of those each year. The other is personnel protective equipment. We are still budgeting at 20 sets per year, and that's to meet NFPA standard of a maximum lifetime of 10 years. That line probably should have been adjusted slowly over the last few years as the cost of turnout gear has exponentially grown. It was under $4,000 and now it's right at $6,000. Now that includes boots, pants, coat, flash over hood, fire helmet. I mean, it's everything. It's the full ensemble. But yeah, there's been about a 30-some% increase in that over the last few years. I mean, I think that's pretty comparable to a lot of things, right? I mean, when COVID happened, things got crazy. I don't think that the fire gear market's going to recover there. So that budget is increased there to take care of that cost change.
And it expires.
Yeah, it expires at 10 years in FPA.
We'll go to questions from council. No? All right, let's go to a roll call on this budget.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, I think that's it.
Do you have the restricted one, Kim?
And one more.
That was sent out in an email.
So I'll go ahead and, well, I'll let you say the numbers first.
We didn't put that in the script because I wasn't sure.
Okay, you want me to say them?
With what you needed, so.
Okay. So the district has created a restricted donation fund that will be appropriated at this time for next year. And I just wanted to let the council know what what that fund entails. So we're going to have $15,000 in supplies, $17,000 in services, and $300,000 in capital in that fund for a total of $332,000. This money has been in a savings account since we incorporated with Washington Township. They gave us a donation to help with the construction of Station 26 in the amount of $300,000. We put that in this restricted donation fund because that's the only thing that we can use that money for as far as their donation concerned. We also got a donation of about $23,000 from Van Buren Township when we merged with them, detailing that it could only be used for ambulance and ambulance services. So with everything that's happened this year, we're finally ready to appropriate that. And with the amount of interest that we've accumulated, we've built that into this budget, showing the three categories that we'll be using these restricted donations for this year.
All right, before we go to discussion, we'll get a motion to accept this.
Council, I move to make the motion to accept the restricted donation fund as mentioned.
Second.
All right, council, we'll go to discussion on this. Counselor Iverson.
Will there be other sources of revenue in the future to this fund?
If someone wants to give us a donation for earmarked for one specific thing, we can use this fund again for those things. But at this time, this is the only amount of cash that we have in there.
Sure.
Other comments or questions?
And just to confirm that the budget is 332,000.
Yes.
All right, last call. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call on accepting this.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Munson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right. Thank you so much.
Really nice seeing you guys. I missed you.
Yeah, have a good
We
one.
miss you too.
Come back anytime.
We're always here. Let's move on to item number 6, Convention Center.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 1127-0000, Convention Center Tourism, with the category request of personnel 0, supplies 0, services $2,703,320, capital 0, for a total request of $2,703,320.
Second.
Thank you. We are delighted to be joined by Talisha Kopic and Mike Campbell. All right, I'll turn it to you all.
Well, thanks for having us back, and that was quite a walk-up introduction there, all those budget numbers. So
That's how we roll.
Yes, I'm Mike Campbell. I'm the president of the Convention Visitors Commission, joined by Talisha Kopic, who runs our convention center operations for DBI. What you see before you here today in Fund 1127 is all funded through the innkeeper's tax that's collected on hotel and short-term rental revenue in the county. And we have a proposal for a 5% increase to Visit Bloomington, mostly to cover cost of living adjustments and some additional marketing. And in the commissioner's expense, you'll see a $50,000 addition in this. This is as we're moving towards convention center expansion, having materials that support the sale for this item. In particular, and probably the most dramatic, is we are looking at launching a new website for the convention center, which would be a front-facing, customer-facing site. And so as we're moving towards finding more information out about the convention center expansion project and what that will entail, that will likely come from this earmarked fund in the commissioner's expense. Our fees would remain the same. DBI, we do have an 8% increase. That is also for cost of living adjustment, and then it's just some additional maintenance as that building continues to age. Our transfer for the, going back to, I think that's it. The rest are in other line items. So.
Okay. We will go to questions, comments from council. Councilor Iverson.
Well, thank you for being here. I see that Mike is not here, but I was wondering if you folks have any general knowledge that you could bring us about the status of tourism here. I mean, are bookings still high? Folks are still coming? That sort of thing.
Absolutely. Our innkeeper's tax collections are right on pace with what there were last year, to the point of scary that they're the exact same number at this point. So we're then, okay. I looked it up just because I'm a math guy, and it's 0.1% difference from what it was last year at this time. So we are right on pace with what we did last year. We'll have an extra football game in the fall, which will boost revenues as well for the innkeeper's tax, but that demand continues to be there. We have seen a little bit of a shift. Leisure travel is down nationally, but meetings and conventions and associations and groups are actually up as that's recovered and back to pre-COVID levels.
Good.
That is very relevant information.
It is, isn't it?
Great.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to add the comment. I remember during COVID and around when we were talking about much different alarming numbers.
Oh, yes.
And it's
Yes.
always good to see you with good news. Other comments or questions? Yeah, Counselor.
Yeah, well, it's always great to see you guys here. I was just wondering if you can talk at all about what, just in general, kind of your plans for how to market the new convention center, particularly during the transition. How's that going to work?
Absolutely great question. So,
Well, interestingly enough, we're already starting to talk to people about it. So the fact that we've got a good solid base and we have people who have been turned away because they weren't able to come in the past, that we've got those connections still. I have a teacher who calls every 4 years to ask if we've expanded yet. I'm ready for it this time. These types of groups book 2, 3, 4 years out. They're going to want to see what it's going to be. But I think some solid communication with our current customers to, see how the new facility can work with them. That'll get the new one open. Then we'll renovate the current one. And then by that time, hopefully we'll have a hotel that is open as well, which makes all the difference in the world. We saw that when the courtyard opened. It was night and day difference. We had been open 5 years before, and then the courtyard opened, and it exploded. So that hotel is really, really important. But I think it's just going to be a very natural kind of progression into it. We've got fabulous sales staff at Visit Bloomington. Sean Ballard, who's really jumped in with all of the big group associations and SPART meetings and MPI and ISAE, and does a lot of traveling and connection to make relationships with them. So that position is a really, really important one. But our booking policies of looking like a year and a half, 2 years out, having our sales staff and Visit Bloomington sales staff work together on getting the most impact, farther out. And then as we start getting closer, then, we can look at those dates as well, like if it's a year out, and start booking. So I think it's going to be very much like we're doing now, with a heck of a lot more promotion, though, because we don't do a lot of promotion now because it's full. And then you kind of go through this whole circle of talking to somebody and spending all that upfront money, and then there's not a date to put them in.
Yeah.
And we've been, putting money into the building. That's really one of the most important things, is that it's a nice space when they come to look at it, and it'll sell itself, and the destination does. But having those additional connections and people out traveling and making is huge.
one very big highlight we had this summer was the Indiana Society of Account Executives traveled to Bloomington and actually met in our convention center, and we were able to talk with them about the upcoming expansion and what that would be, and get some feedback from them as to what they're looking for. So being able to touch base, not just online, but also individually to some of those meeting planners, both when they come here and then when we go to association meetings regionally, talking about Bloomington, really will make a difference.
Awesome.
That's great. Well, I'm glad to support that extra commissioner's expense also for any additional promotional materials and the website and everything. So that's.
Other comments? Councilor Wiltz.
Since we're talking about that transition and marketing and speaking to folks, can you tell us a little bit about the difference in capacity for groups? I mean, I'm very familiar with the capacity currently, which isn't a whole lot, but do you have an idea now what you're telling people you're able to accommodate in the future?
It's a little early, just
Yeah.
because they're still working out some of the details of how to fit it all in. But if you think of the current building as 40,000 square foot of space,
The new building will be 60,000 square foot of space. So you can market that 100,000 square feet. So I think it's a matter of, I mean, it would be 250 person groups if you want to look at it that way, and they have like different breakouts. Another thing to look at is different types of events that we can't even do right now. So in fact, the sports marketing folks were out talking with people about pickleball and fencing and,
Axe
of course,
throwing.
Axe throwing and
Axe throwing.
weightlifting and
I want to see you at that one.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting how things have changed kind of in the sports world as well. There are non-traditional sports. I think we've been using the example of, what was it, like 4 basketball courts and 8 volleyball courts, but it's probably going to be more of those other kind of non-traditional type, cheerleading competitions.
Right.
We currently have a group of cloggers that come that have a hard time fitting in that space, and they need special equipment, stages, and so that's going to be kind of very interesting and different from what we've done with meetings and gala. So it just adds. So it would be a 30,000 square foot exhibit hall, probably 3 additional breakout rooms in the new space. I think the main floor is going to look very much like it does now, as far as the layout goes. We want to respect that, county owns 33 pieces of art from our local artists that are in that building, so we want to respect how all that fits together. There are some opportunity spaces that, right now we're just kind of trying to fit in those meeting and event needs. So that kind of gives you a feel.
Yeah,
I think it was
It's exciting. The Capital Improvement Board is doing very good work.
Yes, yeah.
And they're listening as well to a lot of people,
Yes.
but also listening to what the customer wants as well too. So I think that they're managing a lot. I appreciate the work that they're doing, and we're ready to market it and sell it and book it and have some activity in it when it's open. So we want to start from day one.
Sure.
There is a community presentation Monday night, the 16th at 6 o'clock. So, for people listening, obviously all the elected officials, if you want to pop in and see the latest, that's at the convention center on Monday at 6.
Sadly, we're going to be holding a income tax, jail
we
tax public hearing.
Oh,
so-
well, enjoyed that.
But that's at 5. That's at
Okay.
5. So we'll.
I think
That's right. It'll be
It may
We'll
be
try
over.
to wrap that up for you all.
I think it's important. We just go to the convention center. You guys can take
Do it
care
all
of this
together.
business.
I love the big city design, the new combination of the go big and city. Yeah.
Same.
Well, and I just want to add to your comments about the CIB. They are moving very well, and it's doing precisely what we needed it to do, and it's doing it exceedingly effectively. I made a comment in a meeting. They're moving like a rocket, and that's precisely what we were not doing, as you all know quite well, and it's just a relief. And if it continues to go well, maybe we'll give them more headaches to deal with, because the speed and the amount of information is awesome.
A lot of professionals involved with it
Yeah.
as well that are knowledgeable in the industry, and so that
Right.
is really
It does.
helpful.
Yeah. Other comments or questions? Well, I think we can go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay, we'll go to the next budget.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 4005-0000 Convention Center operating with category request of personnel 0, supplies 0, services $636,000, capital 0, for a total request of $636,000.
Second.
This budget reflects the money generated at the convention center and deposited into this account. And we primarily pay our management fee for that covers personnel, insurance, administrative type expenses. And I will say that, business is back post-cut. We have 21, I think, new conferences next year, new topics, which is pretty interesting. So we're very excited about that, as the world evolves, so do their associations and things people talk about and get together for. So pretty excited about that.
Awesome. Questions from council? Councilor Iverson.
I will just share, the recovery summit just happened over there at the convention center. We were not a large group, but it just felt like if there was another thing scheduled while we were there, there just wouldn't have been room. So, we just need this expansion so badly. But I was also pleased to see that the IU Sustainability and Resilience Conference is going to be in Bloomington in February. So there's a lot of fun things coming.
There really is. There's a 4-day environmental health next week. Sylvia Garrison, if you remember her from the health department, she's our contact with that. So
Cool.
She's organized it and brought that association here. There's a security conference going on today and tomorrow and Saturday. USA Today is doing award winner banquet tonight. Right now. So there's a dental group at 6 a.m. in the morning that's like dental
6 a.m.?
training. Yes.
That's when they always want to make my appointments.
Right,
That's
exactly.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So there's still a lot of variety. And actually all 4 of those except one are brand new groups. So
That's exciting. Well, and on the CIB's website, there's this like 40-second video of what this new space is going to be like. And as someone who just helped organize an event at the convention center, I'm really excited about being in the new space.
good. That's great.
So we'll
that's
give
good.
you a call when you're ready to book.
I think we hired an event planner. You don't want to call me.
Okay.
All right. Councilor.
I just want to say that I think you need to make it your mission to get the Indiana librarians. I know we
The
weren't able to-
librarians.
I know we had to
They're
turn
a
them
fun
away
group.
because we couldn't accommodate.
I
them,
bet that's a
but-
big group.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think we're hoping Indiana Parks and Rec Association will be one of the first ones because they've wanted to come back. They outgrew us a few years ago, and so they're excited about it too. But we'll look into the librarians.
That's interesting. I was at their last conference here in town, and I hadn't realized that's why they hadn't been back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other comments, questions? All right, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk, Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, next we'll go to Convention Center debt budget.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 4602-0000 Convention Center debt with category request of personnel 0, supplies 0, services $636,000, capital 0, for a total request of $636,000.
Second.
So this fund covers the debt on the renovation of the existing convention center and then the purchase of some of the surrounding land and contiguous land, some of which is set to be used for the expansion for the convention center. We are getting very close to this being able to be retired. The payoff date on this, if it's on schedule, is April of 2026, and this is a 2025 budget. It's very likely that we will pay this off early and be able to do that with very little impact on our operating budget and our balances. So we've managed the funds very well, and this is one benefit of that, is to be able to have some flexibility. As the Capital Improvement Board is moving quickly towards going under bond. This may come up quicker than it might otherwise come up. And so at this point, there's no plan to pay this off in this fiscal year, which is why we have the money budgeted for next year. But it could very well be that we come back to you before the end of this year asking to be able to have an additional appropriation from the general fund in order to pay off the balance of this loan. So that loan amount is right around $917,000 at the first of the year. And so we would be able to absorb that with the funds that we have in the capital debt fund, our capital debt fund, plus also an additional appropriation from the general fund.
Councilor McKim?
Just to clarify, when he says general fund, he means his general fund of innkeeper's tax, not our general.
Unless you're interested in contributing, no. But that's absolutely true. That's all. This has been paid for by innkeeper's tax, and this loan should be retired with innkeeper's tax.
Okay.
Other comments or questions? We're good? All right. Go ahead, Councilor Hub.
Long time.
Yes.
And it just continues.
Can you
to
pull
be
your
joyous.
mic around?
Yeah, sorry. It's been a long time since we first walked in there with Steve Ferguson and Bill Cook and just, listen to their dreams and there's so many people that made this successful. And it was because of a trust between the local folks that made it happen. And they just said, we can do this. And they did it. And with the help of, I want to remember today, Warren Henniger, because I really had to just twist his arm and say, oh, come on, Warren, help me out with this. And so it's been a joyous experience. And so it'd be good to hear one of the debts paid off and moving forward.
Well, not yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah, but you
We're
can
heading
see
that
the
way.
light at the end of
Can
the
see the
tunnel.
light, absolutely.
Yes.
Councilor Munson?
I just want to comment that you were very lucky that you can see this process through and that you were there at the beginning. You'll be there at the end, we hope. Thank you for your longevity and fortitude.
Other comments or questions? Seeing none, I think we could go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
We will go to the next budget.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 4909-0000 Convention Visitor Capital Improvement with a category request of Personnel 0, Supplies 0, Services $100,000, Capital 0 for a total request of $100,000.
Second.
So again, this is funded through the innkeeper's tax, and it is done for the upkeep of our existing liabilities under the debt. So that would involve the convention center, the existing properties as well too, as well as the repairs on the or upkeep of the Visit Bloomington offices or the like.
Any other comments or any comments or questions? Sorry, my brain.
Yeah.
Wiltz?
I'm just curious as we have a clear interest in maintaining our current properties, are there specific projects upcoming? I just haven't been as involved as I was at one point, and I'm just curious what y'all are focused on, what the big need is, perhaps, in the coming year.
So I think we've done a lot of work in the convention center and some help through other funds to address some things.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to say thank you all also for the ARPA funding. That was transformational. We were able to put in a new cooling tower. with lots of thanks from customers. It really made a big difference. It went in a couple weeks ago. It's much quieter, so the hotel guests aren't being woken
Yes.
up in the middle of the night. So included with that are 2 pumps, because that system pumps water through to the heating and cooling units, a boiler, an upgrade for the Hanson's Abendon room, which really needed it, and then some of our amplifiers and some tuck pointing work. So that money was really, really important, just because they were big dollar items that's hard to come by.
Right.
So, we're trying to balance with the architects and systems that we'll be using in the new building. I was pretty excited to hear that, kind of the current system we've been using on HVAC is a pretty environmentally and friendly system.
So we've upgraded those several times throughout.
Yeah.
And to Talicia's point, we don't want to upgrade something that will be thrown away with a renovation of that new space. So we're working very closely with the architect and the capital improvement board to say what makes sense and what not. So.
Other questions or comments? We're good? All right, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, I think that's it.
All right. Well,
Thank you so
and
much.
thanks to this group for your support for tourism in Monroe County. You've been a great partner and a great advocate this board has.
Thank you. It's awesome. All right, let's go to item number 7, a review of the 2025 combined dispatch budget.
Okay.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review the combined dispatch budget.
Second.
Welcome to Sarah Taylor. And you're welcome to tell us what we need to know about this. I think we've got it on our...
Yes, it was in our packets, the detail.
I'm Sarah Taylor, Director of Civilian Operations. For our E911 budget, in 2024, our communications contract was budgeted at $840,000. This year, there's a significant drop down to $700,000 because year 2 of our Spillman contract is much cheaper than the first year. Our communications contract encompasses our CAD RMS maintenance, priority dispatch protocols for all 3 disciplines, police, fire, and EMS, our early warning system for our staff, AT&T circuits, fiber, dedicated lines, the IDAX NCIC connection, as well as our ERS locution and radio contracts. It also covers call and radio recording software and scheduling software. Most of our contracts have remained unchanged, with the notable decrease being the reduced year 2 Spillman contract cost. We've maintained our training budget at $27,000. In 2023, we spent $16 shy of that amount. And we've chose to keep it the same for next year because we are still evaluating how much that the state is going to pay for us. They pay for a lot of our trainings, and then they also conduct a lot of free training for us. So we're comfortable leaving that the same now. That may increase in the coming years. And that's all I have for E911.
Okay.
Councilor McKim.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, this is a question more for our staff table. Do these numbers then match what we've already actually appropriated on our side for E911?
Yeah, because we did that already.
Sorry, I should have checked myself before. What day did we do that? Do you remember?
That was like the first day.
I think it was.
We brought it back on Wednesday, was it?
It was Labor Day week, right?
Oh, yeah, because it was part of the commissioners.
Commissioners, we didn't do it the night they were here. We had to bring it
They
back.
came back the next day.
So it was
yeah.
Wednesday because commissioners were here on Tuesday.
And then I got confused and yeah.
So for the E911, you approved 737 total, 737 total.
Okay. So we appropriated a little bit more than they're actually requesting here. Okay. And since that's non-reverting, it would just revert anyway. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? And by the way, it's good to see Chief Dekoff here. Welcome. I did want to ask. Oh no, never mind. I don't want to do it. I did it out of turn the last time, so I'll stop.
Here, I'll ask a question while people are crunching numbers.
Go right
Okay.
ahead.
How is the labor force? Do you have vacancies? Things going well?
We still have vacancies. As of today, we have 11 open dispatch vacancies. We are trying to combat that, though. We are opening a rolling post for dispatch on HR's website. We're going to keep that open and try to snag candidates as quick as we can. And for those telecommunicators that are current telecommunicators in different counties, they have the option to fast track. If they already have some of the certifications that we need, then they can skip some of that classroom training, which is really nice. We have a lot of interest in the positions. It's just getting them in the door quick enough is the issue. We get 50 to 70 plus applicants each time we have a posting open.
Oh.
But because we are pursuing CALIA accreditation, that does add some things to our hiring. We now have to do psych, vision, hearing, and drug testing, which this round added about a month to our hiring process. So we lost some quality candidates to local area employers in the same realm of public safety this go around. So internally, we're working on trying to tighten that up, make that a much shorter process. And then to retain the staff that we do have and attract other candidates, we are going to be trialing a 12-hour schedule starting in the fall. That's going to give staff every other weekend off. And for comparison, right now on their 8-hour schedule, they're getting every 5th or 6th weekend off. So this is going to be big for them to have that work-life balance.
Great, thank you so much.
That was the question I was going to ask. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Others, Councilor Hawk.
Did I understand you 12 hours they would go on and be on duty?
Yes.
For 12 straight hours?
Yes. In dispatch, it's common for 8, 10, or 12-hour shifts.
That just sounds like too much. I'm not in charge of that. I'm just saying personally, I think that's too much.
So I will say right now, they are working 12-hour shifts on their short week to get that 5th or 6th weekend off. They're very used to, especially with overtime, working 12 hours. And I don't want to say unanimously, but a vast majority prefers trying this out so that they can have that better balance.
So the shift starts, what time does the shift start? What time is it typically? Well, I know there's 2 shifts, but what's your start and end time?
It's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and
Okay.
6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
By the way, I just want to remind everybody, she's only had the chance to present the E911. We've actually gone into questions about the
I know.
PSAP budget, but
It's
she
what I
hasn't had
did
a
wrong
chance to
last
pre-
time.
I wasn't listening to instructions earlier.
All right, any other questions on this budget? Do we need to do anything other than just adopt as read, or?
That's what you did last year. You approved, their submission.
From our end? Okay, all right.
Okay, Council, I move we approve the 2025 E911 budget as submitted and as is in our packet.
Second.
All right.
Just to confirm, it has the bottom line of $727,745.38. Sorry.
All right, any discussion? Go to a roll call.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Welts,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed, unanimous.
Okay. And then I guess we go to the next budget, and I think our script may be missing it, but
It's the PSAP.
PSAP budget.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review the PSAT lit fund budget.
Second.
Anything you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, so we are seeing an increase in supplies and building repairs due to inflation, the need for expanded staffing, and ongoing maintenance of our facility. We moved into the space that we're in 2014, so we are having to replace some of our equipment and having some building repairs on a unit that's 10 years old. Additionally, there's an increase in line 53650 because we've hired a full-time janitorial service. Previously, a staff member employed by BPD was coming over across the street to dispatch to clean for us. Since we are a 24-hour, 365 operation, the demand for cleaning was growing. So we hired the service that cleans downstairs for Bloomington Transit. That will include weekly cleanings and more deep, thorough cleanings, which have been infrequent until now. For capital outlays, we've got $45,000 to replace our second uninterruptible power supply that connects all dispatch and server room equipment to the generator. We replaced the first UPS this year, and we'll be replacing the second one next year. Those are just glorified surge protectors that are fail-safe for all of our equipment. In addition, we plan to replace 22 radio consolettes in the server room next year. They will be no longer in production and no longer supported after next year. That's some of the equipment that was installed when we moved into that building. These consolettes provide critical backup communication for dispatchers in the event that our primary wireline radios were to fail. The replacement cost for 22 consolettes is $220,000, and we did consult with IPSC, the Integrated Public Safety Commission, to make sure that we did indeed need to replace all 22 of them, and we do. And finally, we plan to invest in a mobile radio solution. That's the last piece to our fully mobile capable backup dispatch solution. So this system would allow dispatch to operate from any location with electricity. We currently can now with the equipment that we have, but for those of you that are familiar with public safety, they are having to dispatch on a handheld radio. Imagine 4 to 8 people in a room in an emergency situation, answering 911 calls, admin lines, and all the public safety radio traffic. They can't hear them. So this mobile radio solution is going to be something in ear. It costs $8,000 for the software itself, and then $8,000 additionally for 4 laptops that would support that system. And that's all I have.
Counselors, what questions, comments do you have? I think we'll probably need to refine a motion. Counselor McKim?
Yeah, and so this is just to, to kind of tie this back to what we already did the other day. It looks like the total of this budget here, make sure you agree, is $4,383,511.37.
Yes.
We appropriated in the interlocal $2,585,000 from the new PSAP revenue that'll come in next year, PSAP lit revenue. And so, right, for the county. And so what that means is the balance is essentially being paid from reserves. Which just, we know that fund has built up substantial reserves. And my understanding is that all your salaries are, for all the telecommunicators, are fully funded in this budget, right?
Yes.
So we know just because we know you're not going to be, fully staffed 100% of the time, we know that the reserves will continue to build up, and we'll be able to do this again the next year. So.
Other comments or questions? All right. Do we then want to go to a roll call?
We need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion.
Yeah, I can do that. Council, I move we approve the 2025 PSAP lit budget as submitted with a bottom line of $4,383,511.37.
Second.
Right. Any discussion on that? All right, let's go to a roll call.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you so much. We appreciate your wait. All right. We've got council office items next. I just want to double check. Counselors, are we okay or do you need a break? Give me a kind of a weird wink if you.
I'd rather get out early personally.
Me too.
All right. Let's go on through. Let's go to 8.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review the council office general fund budget with category request of personnel, $469,144, supplies, $1,300, services, $275,115, capital 0, for a total request of $745,559.
Second.
All right. Michelle, you get to try it and see what this is like now. Go ahead.
Council, this is a relatively flat budget with regards to the personnel and staff needs. The only difference is we did increase the training travel, and that's because of the new employee. As I had mentioned earlier, that amount was cut last year, and I'm going to have to do some category transfers in order to cover the cost for the remainder of this year with regards to going to conferences. We did do an increase of the community services amount, which is the Sophia Travis. We did the 4%, and so then I rounded that up to 174,000, and I kept everything else the same. So.
Thank you. All right, counselors, questions, comments?
I'll start off on line 33032 BEDC. I fully agree this line should be here. I fully agree this line should be at that amount, but it looks like we only expended $5,700 of it, and I would like to find out ways to fully expend this fund annually.
Councilor McKim.
Yep.
So our council attorney, well, okay, let's remember when we were talking to the commissioners, it was a rather tense discussion.
Yes.
But Ms. Purdy did suggest, why don't we do this in a way that doesn't require the commissioners to sign an MOU? And it's clearly they don't want to do that. And so the question is, do we really need to pick that fight, or should we just go ahead and submit it as an invoice? And I mean, the commissioners will have to approve it as a claim, and they can choose to pull it out and deny it, but at least we wouldn't be kind of forcing them to enter into an agreement that they don't want to enter into. I don't know. Ms. Turner King, do you have any comments
Saw that
about
microphone
that?
moving. And
I think that's your exact two options. You can do an MOU, which requires commissioner approval, or you can do it as a claim, which also requires commissioner approval. But I do think it is an option if you wanted to do a resolution that's just a donation to BEDC. You could pass the resolution and then make that as a claim. So it would go through the invoice process.
I just feel like it would kind of avoid, putting pressure on the commissioners to do something they don't want to do.
yeah, so Ms. Turner King, are you saying that if we adopted a resolution that would bypass commissioners on the?
No, if you adopted a resolution, it would still have to go through the claims process.
Which means they would have to be approved by the commissioners.
Yes.
Doesn't
So-
happen.
I'm not changes anything. But
A different form, and maybe that form is what does it.
I mean, they approve how many millions of claims every single
really-
meeting.
Yeah, it's just one big long list.
One big long list.
Yeah.
It's not forcing them to or asking them to enter into a specific agreement that they don't want to.
We could always try it. That's our motto. We try everything and then we figure out how we're going to do it.
I said one gerbil tube at a time.
One gerbil tube at a time. All right. Let me look over. I've got multiple hands everywhere. Counselor Munson.
So I don't understand where this is coming from, and frankly, I do not care.
That's hilarious.
This is unimportant in the greater scheme of things.
Yep.
And the important thing is that the organizations, the agencies, have a commitment to county government and the public of the county that they will carry out their part of the deal, as the county is going to carry out their part, which is the funding element. And it has been important in times past that we have these agreements. So we have to have some sort of formal agreement. And whatever it is, it is. It's just, this is really not terribly important as long as we have the agreement.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes. Look, if a resolution works and we get them the money and we've got what we want and they've got what they want, why pick an argument? I mean, just
Absolutely,
get it
we
done.
don't care.
And there's really, and then it doesn't have to be on an agenda for the commissioners at all. And really, Councilmember Munson said she didn't care. Let me tell you, I don't care if the commissioners are happy or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I just don't think that it's right to expect people to come and be almost insulted to come to meet with the commissioners to do what it is we've asked them to do. So if we can do it with a resolution, and then let's all just get along. Why not?
Kumbaya.
We're getting along. We're getting along.
I see Counselor Iverson's hand, and then I'll go to Counselor Wiltz.
I just want to make sure that we don't miss in this conversation, maybe that someone should be talking with BEDC. We have that liaisonship for a reason, and make sure that they are aware of whatever step we're taking here too. We don't want to.
Well, that has nothing to do with this particular undertaking.
Just want to make sure that people know what's happening.
Okay.
Surprises are not good.
So
Make a big deal. Just don't make a big deal of everything.
Yeah.
I've got
Just trying to
Wiltz.
ratchet down the tension.
I've got Wiltz and then Crossley.
My questions keeps changing as people say things. But, so if we do a resolution, obviously there's more discussion to be had on this topic, but we could do a resolution that does not include a lot of the items that were being considered in the MOU. Is that what I'm hearing? Or are we saying that we would convert the MOU that was being considered by the commissioners into a resolution? I mean,
We can do whatever we want. I think if you want to
I
change
guess
it, if you
I'm
want
trying to
something
figure out if
different.
that's, because I know I've had lots of conversations, and this was like 2 years ago, where it was like, there isn't any difference. It's not going to work either way. It's not going to be any different either way. So I'm trying to understand the difference is all. And I'm all for moving forward. Don't get me wrong. I just am curious, are there stipulations in this resolution that would be similar to what the MOU that we've seen would?
One thing I might offer is, I know that when the commissioners were here presenting their budget, this question was asked. There was a lot of discussion around it, and certainly this is a huge point for this council. I mean, that's been made more than a number of times in these meetings and other meetings. I recall during that discussion, Commissioner Thomas said that she would look into it on her end. My recommendation to council is, if we can hold this line here and figure out what format might be most advantageous to it, and if we can't figure that out, we'll just figure out a format, try a format and go with it. But that we take them up on their word that this would be something that they would definitely revisit, and then we figure out the format as we perfect the budget, so to speak. And if that kind of works, we can move that along and keep this line item in here. I agree. And I was in all those leadership meetings where it was whatever route it goes, it's going to go. And I think the bottom line, sort of speaking to Counselor Munson's kind of the unimportant part is when I'm out at a ribbon cutting at Simtra and I'm looking at an expanded plant that's going to put the people that I represent and some that aren't even here yet to work, I have to look at that line pretty hard. And I won't tell you all the stories about, family affected by plant closures, but I look at that line very hard. Just like the other day I was talking about, watching the community things that keep you up at night. I watch what happens to the same people that line watches, because I remember a time in the 90s when we were begging some of these places not to leave us. Now we need people begging them to come here, join, make people more prosperous. So I think that we can kind of figure out what that is and then come back to this as we perfect the budget if the council's good with that. We just can't lose this in the scheme.
Like I said, I'm certainly fine with that. I'm just trying to remove a point of conflict that we know is going to occur and has already occurred. So,
Councilor Crossley.
I was going to say, to your point, President Decker, I understand, we try to get along as much as we can, and obviously that's the sentiment of any elected official, I would certainly hope. Along those lines, because, we want to be able to take the commissioners up and take Commissioner Thomas for her word for it. Do we have, as a council, a deadline to say, okay, we've given this enough, and then how do we proceed? Because I would certainly hope that we could try the normal route that you would think that you would want to take. But then I know they have, things that they want to move on, and we certainly do as well. So I would recommend, if we want to do the holistic approach of doing that, we can try, but maybe urge, put a little timeline on it. And if not, then go the resolution route to remove that extra barrier so that we can do what we all want we should do.
Yeah. Good, Councilor McKim.
well, one way to set a clock for that is we have the budget year. I mean, we have the existing year. We have an MOU that has already been written. If the commissioners are willing to revisit it, great. If not, fine. But this is appropriation we're discussing now is not for this year. It's for next year. Right. And I say next year we just, y'all, again, I keep saying that, not we, y'all, do the resolution and submit it as a claim.
So put the appropriation in, MOU does not appear, resolution we go. Sounds pretty good. Now somebody write that down. So, because it sounded good now.
Was that a
But
motion?
in 2 hours, there'll be a new headache.
I think that was a motion.
That's public service for you.
Well, all we have to do right now is give a recommendation on the budget for 2025.
Yes, that's all we have to do.
Councilor Iverson, did you have a question?
I was going to take us to another line,
Yeah, go.
but I don't want to stop the conversation if there's more.
Everybody good on that line? All right, go ahead, Councilor.
I'm making sausage. All right. Line number 3006, contractual. This is a question for Kim Shell. We've budgeted $30,000 for WIS, but we go above that amount when we submit projects to them. Is that correct?
We've been staying within that amount, but the bigger the project, like this year we've done 2 huge ones, which was the assessor's office, and we just finished with the health department. We've already paid the assessor one. I have yet to receive a bill yet for the health department.
And you don't think that bill will push us over the $30,000 level?
I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you at this
Okay.
point,
But it
because they had so much to do, so many job descriptions, and they send me those bills quarterly. So I should be getting one here soon.
Okay. All right. I just want to put people's minds at ease. I think there's a lot of talk about how we're spending a lot of money on WIS, and that hopefully that number stays flat with what we've done last year or this year. That's all.
Other comments or questions, counselors? Okay. Well, let's go to a roll call on this if there are none.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk? Yes. Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passed, unanimous.
All right, go to the next item.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 1186-0000, rainy day with category request of personnel 0, supplies $1 million, services $1 million, capital $1 million, for a total request of $3 million.
Second.
Council, again, this is a recommendation from FSG that we should establish in the rainy day fund emergency response for supplies, services, and capital. And this is as a last resort when all other funding has been utilized. So it's just recommended that it's always there, and then that way if a need arises, the departments don't have to wait for that 2 weeks of advertising. So.
All right, any questions or comments? No. Everybody's rainy day funded out. All right, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Motion passed, unanimous.
Now, before we quit for the evening and week, Kim Shell is going to show us some potential COLA, folks watching at home, cost of living adjustments for our employees. She's going to show us some COLA percentages by a table. And counselors, I'd like you to take a good hard look at this, be thinking about it as you think about all this budget. And then obviously we'll come back to it, nothing tonight, but just we'll take a look. And thanks to Michelle for breaking this down. Mm-hmm. If someone's not seeing something that they absolutely need, she would say, tell me sooner rather than later on this.
Yes, please. So I went through and pulled a report with just personnel, separated out anything that was not a salary. So that what you are seeing are full-time employee salaries. The gray column here, which is H, is what the department has requested. So this line right here that I'm going to highlight for you, right here, that's general fund. So I was asked to, give some comparison with percentages. What we have is the state has set their rate at 3%. Our CPI is that we use, which is the Consumer Price Index, we use the prior December, is 3.2. We just kind of threw in a 4% there because we're talking about FLSA. If you did it across the board and 4%, this would take care of some issues, and we're going to address this again at a later date. And then the Board of Commissioners asked for a 5.2. So for the general fund only, you can see that the difference between what they've requested and let's just say the 3% increase is $924,591. This includes the PERF and the FICA. So, and you can see, I separated up here. There's the total of the salaries, the total of the FICA needed, total of the PERF, the grand total of what that percentage will cost, and then the difference between the requested cost and the proposed percentages. And then, so this is just general fund. The entire report has, like I said, every single department that has a full-time employee, I pulled this report, did the numbers, and then when you go to the bottom, this is the total for all funds across the board. Not just the levy funds, but this is the entire. So there has been a request, and this is the requested, which includes the step increases, that kind of thing. So for a 3% difference from the requested to the state set amount is $1,354,600, and then you can see that across the board there.
So between 1.3 and 2.3 on the range. Am I saying that right?
Correct.
Okay. Yes, Councilor McKim.
And so just to confirm, these numbers are as the budgets were submitted.
As they were submitted, we have tweaked those a wee bit with
a
some of the
little
personnel.
bit. I know it's not a huge difference, but
we
so these
had-
are slight overestimates then.
A
essentially.
slight, because we have removed,
Just a little.
we removed one, maybe two, but we added a couple into the health department. So
I think it probably was.
it may be wash, yeah.
Well, right, but I'm in terms of the funds that we really have to balance.
Correct.
So that it would be slight. I know we removed one in parks, and there may be another one, but
Right.
okay.
Correct. I
But
mean,
a
I
small
could go
amount,
back
you're right.
and, make those tweaks, but I mean, this gives you a good estimate as what we started with.
It's great. This is really clean.
Yeah, it is.
So are you, so if you want to look at different numbers, you just need to let me know. I can,
They're pretty easy to
I can
crank out.
Yeah, I can do that for you, so.
Pretty clear.
This is just a clean overview. Yes, I'm going to nag. The sooner you guys can get something to me, the better it helps us. But I totally get it, and understand. But I have more help in the office as well, which I appreciate. Thank you very much. So it's doable.
Just to be clear, Michelle and a few others talk to me about this about 3 times a day. So please think of it, and she may call you as well, and that's good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's we just have to be able to. We're going to and I'm working with Bree. We will advertise high enough. It's just so that we can incorporate whatever percentage. I just need to know if you need to look at something higher than the 5.2, then I need to know that so that we can.
Counselor Hawk has a motion.
I just want to make sure we get that so I know how to advertise.
I am going to ask unanimous consent to assure Kim that we will not ask for more than 4.2%. As much as we would love to.
You don't think it should be 10,000 apiece?
As much as I would love to.
Right, so, yeah.
Heart palpitations.
No, but.
Other questions or comments? So we will study it well and think about it. I suspect people are already thinking a lot about it, but we will do that and make that our task.
And I do believe that I got a copy sent out to you guys, so you can, if you need me to send you a version email so that you can download it onto your laptop.
Well, it'd be good
you can
to
play with it, that kind of thing.
I'd like to be able to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, you did send it to us.
Yeah, she sent it.
And I do believe, if I remember right, I think the auditor began talking to me about this around February. So it's on all of our minds. Any other comments, questions?
And where we are, how much?
On the 4Bs?
On the 4B? Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We didn't reduce anything that would affect that tonight, did we? Wouldn't help here.
Can you see that?
Blow it up a little bit.
Same live version that we have a link to from 2 weeks ago. All right.
So we still need to adjust those levies.
Right, right. Yeah. This only reflects the changes you made last night with regards to budgets. Bree and I have not had a chance to fix the levy part.
And there were no changes tonight.
No changes tonight.
Which makes
so-
your life easy.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Yeah,
I just want to make sure when we are looking at these numbers that we do look at the kind of historical reversions that we see, because let's face it, we know we always wind up with more cash than we projected, because there is a lot of money that does wind up getting reverted. Especially when we do things like $100,000 of this. Remember, that general fund budget is emergency management. We put in an emergency appropriation for them that we don't expect them to spend unless there's a more than 50% chance, hopefully, that'll just revert. So I want everybody to at least think about that.
As Francine's about 12 hours from us, Auditor.
To piggyback off Councilor McKim's statement, I provided the council prior to every budget session a reversion report, 2023 information, and then where we are, as close to now as I can get it. I did it day of, I think. So if you want to take a look at that, that might help refresh your memory as to how drastic some of those reversions are.
One thing, we're well informed by all this, and it makes our jobs very much more manageable to do it. So thanks for all of this, and we'll just keep working until all this works out. Anything else, friends? Yeah, Councilor Wills.
Well, I kind of want to ask a question about this exact topic, the reversions, because it's one thing to keep in mind that we know they're there and are likely to happen again. It's another to really take a look at excessive reversions, if they exist, and open that back up for consideration and change it for the coming year. And I guess I would like to gauge my colleagues' interest in which approach are we preferring. Do we want to just be mindful of this, or do we want to try to ratchet the budget down for next year to reflect what we think is happening with reversions?
I mean, if you have a proposal, I would say look at the data that that Bree sent. And I think any of,
Okay, that leads me to another question. If I were to suggest that we look at a particular budget and maybe reduce lines based on reversion information, is that, because we haven't done something like that before that I know of, at least in my tenure, where after we've said everything's great, see ya, after the hearing, have we changed lines like that?
I think we have.
What would be the best way to do that? Would I just say, hey, let's open this and look at it? Do we need to
That's what
put
we
it
did
on
last year. And I can't remember which budget it was. You had already been through the process, and then it was on the final night. We opened a couple more, things were changed, and then it was moved on through. So,
I think it's important to communicate with the department head and see what what the impact would be. And
yeah, okay. So communicate with that person, that department's liaison, and work with them to determine if this is a viable approach, if that's something we're gonna do. And then on the last night, is that what you're saying, Thursday then, would be the day to do this? Okay. Bring it up.
Although we've made changes at the public hearing and an adoption before, so.
Right, and I was just gonna say that, you can make changes at the, following the public hearing. We are also having a first reading at our regular session, so you'll have that first reading, you can make changes then. And then, I can't remember, as long as everything is done in the way you want it before the adoption on the 28th. Okay. You're good.
Anything else? Well, it's been a long week. Thanks, everybody. We will come back for our next meeting, which will be on, Thursday, September 19th, 2024. That will be our sixth and final budget hearing night before we move on with other considerations with the budget. Anything else? All right. We will stand in recess.